Assalamu alaikum. Joining me is Sister Soraya Zaki Hafez, President of the Canadian Council of Muslim Women in Edmonton, Alberta. Sister Soraya, tell me about yourself in Edmonton, Alberta.
I came to Edmonton 1971 and I was in the States and I came driving all the way from Madison, Wisconsin to Edmonton. Uh, when I came to Edmonton, an American friend came with me and my children, Tariq and Sahar. So I was taking her around Edmonton and all of a sudden we saw the mosque. So mosque, like my children never saw a mosque before, so we went all running to the door of the mosque, but the door was locked, so we couldn't get in the mosque. But after that, we went to the mosque for the Eid and for dinners and for celebrations, and it was like a place that we enjoyed going to. Also, we prayed, and that was very special for us. When I came to Edmonton, I wanted to do something, to work, and I had a BA from Egypt, and it didn't take me anywhere here, though they recognized it, but I couldn't find a job. So I started looking into things, and I took a typing course, a business course actually, business English and typing and all that. And after I finished, and I was supposed to be looking for a job, I asked myself, do I really want to be a secretary? And the answer was no. So what did I really want to do? I wanted to be a teacher. So I applied to the University of Alberta, and I thought I would get Alberta teaching certificate. It was required to get a teaching job. When I finished it, I think a prof told me that if I took 1 year, I would get a B.Ed, and it was a very good idea. I went back and I got my B.Ed. In Edmonton, I applied to teach anywhere, and I couldn't find a teaching job in Edmonton, so I went to Lac La Biche, and I was teaching here. While I was at university, I didn't just go to classes and go home and cooked and took care of my children. No, I was very active at the university. I became the Arab Student Association's president, and that was the first time they have a woman president. And during that time when I was president, it was the best 2 years in the life of the Arab Student Association. We had activities every Friday. I was in the student union with a table promoting the Arab culture, or like promoting certain ideas about Islam. We had some food, so every Friday I did that. We had visitors coming to speak to the students about our background. It was very active at that time. And if we heard about a speaker that wasn't going to talk in favor of our culture, we would go and start asking questions. Was very active at the university, and we also did like on a day when we promoted the culture, and another day that we got speakers. One was from the States and one from Calgary, and they were packed. They were very well attended. So I'm really, when I think about that, I'm so proud that that happened at that time. When I went to Lac La Biche for my teaching job, actually I cried all night before I went, because I said, going to Lac La Biche, what would I do in Lac La Biche? It's so small, And like, there is no like cultural things like the theater, the uh, things I'm used to, the activities, the speakers, and so on. But I had to go for my job. Laklabesh has a large Lebanese community, and they were very welcoming when I went there. They were kind, generous. They always visited me, always brought me food. I gained so much. I Because of eating, and at the school level, um, uh, like the teachers were really the ones from Laklabesh didn't want to communicate with the other teachers. So I found it very pleasant for the teachers who came the same year like me. So we became friends. We visited. We did all that. Also, I became a chairperson for the professional development for Alberta Teachers Association. So I organized professional development days, and they were very well received. So while I was here my last year in Laklabesh, because I decided to come back to Edmonton, I heard about a program, the bilingual program, like Arabic going into the schools. So I came to Edmonton. I participated again, promoting, going, convincing the parents, because the parents weren't really convinced. Why should I put my son or daughter to learn Arabic? We don't need it. We are in Canada. We speak English, which was really wrong, because you need as many languages as possible, because you need it in work, even just to open up your mind to other culture, because through the language you could really learn about other cultures. So the last year of my teaching in Laklabesh, I heard that the community would like to have Arabic in schools, so they wanted to start a bilingual program, Arabic English bilingual program. So I came down here, and again the same thing, like you have to promote it, to talk to the parents, to fundraise again, and they always every Sunday at the basement of the mosque we had cookies, whatever, baking goods and tea and coffee, and people after prayer came down and put some money and had coffee and cookies. We did lots of things like that, and we started the bilingual program in the basement of the Canadian Islamic Center. I had 32 children, 2 classes, and of course everything. We hired a bus driver. The bus driver brought the children in the morning, and then because the children were all over Edmonton, and then he went and picked the afternoon class. I didn't really have a break, and then he picked in the morning class and dropped off the afternoon class. But it was lots of fun. The children were really adorable. The parents were very supportive. We got lots of donations from the community, sandbox, toys, everything. And the brothers and sisters of the students that were in kindergarten were jealous, because they came to watch, and they were really jealous of the students being in the bilingual program in the basement of the mosque. So the families came all the time. We always had dinners. We always, including the time when Muhammad Ali, the fighter, came to visit the mosque, and the students sang for him. The students also went all over Edmonton, went to university during International Week. They went to schools when they had cultural days. I took them everywhere, so everyone saw how the children were enjoying like being in that program. The school board came, it checked the curriculum, it checked the students, saw if there will be many coming to the program, and then we were approved to move to a school on the north side, Glengarry School. So we had kindergarten and grade 2, grade 1s, and from that time on the program became very successful, and is still existing, and they have 2 schools, and so many other schools now have Arabic in their curriculum. So that was teaching at that time. During teaching came the idea of the Canadian Council of Muslim Women. Dr. Lila Falman contacted me, and we met with other women, and we thought, and she thought that Muslim women needed a voice, and also we needed to empower Muslim women. We needed to teach them their rights. So she went on a trip across Canada, and the women were very supportive. So 32 years ago, the Canadian Council of Muslim Women became a reality, and we had a chapter here in Edmonton, still existing. So at one of the meetings, someone said, it's 50 years for Canada's first mosque. We have to have a celebration. And then another voice came and said, a celebration, the mosque is threatened to be demolished, and we are going to celebrate the 50 years. I think instead of celebrating 50 years, we should really try and save the mosque, and all approve the motion that the mosque should be saved. And from that day on became the struggle to save the mosque, the money, the fundraising, the location of the mosque, the building, not building really, but making the mosque, because during that time when the Canadian Islamic Center was opened, the mosque was closed, and I guess the pigeons found a nice home for them, so the mosque was really dirty, and also the curtains and the rugs and everything, so lots of work had to be done on it. So we worked on a grant to the provincial government, and we were granted the grant, and then we did the fundraising through dinners and baking goods and selling, and also donations. And I went on a trip to La Clabesh. From business to business, I went to all business and asked for donation, and they were very generous, and the people that didn't pay at that time, they sent their donations later on. So, and the families, the pioneer families, all donated, and it was wonderful to see the community supporting the move of the mosque. When it came to the location, we didn't know where to move the mosque to, so many places were suggested. One of them was where the Canadian Islamic Center is right now. There is a space beside it, and they thought the mosque should be moved there, but the best idea was to move the mosque to Fort Edmonton Park. But then, because the mosque was built in 1938, and the Fort Edmonton Park took places, or they had only accepted 1929, so that was another problem that we had to lobby, we had to convince, we had to beg, we have to do all sorts of things. So the city council approved. Then we had to work on Fort Edmonton Park Board, and finally, on a nice, bright, sunny day, they approved the move of the mosque to Fort Edmonton. So again, that wasn't like that simple, because now it was time to take care of the mosque and put it into shape the way it was built and the way it was before it came to Fort Edmonton Park.
What makes your community unique?
I think Edmonton, though people always complain about the weather, but at the same time, people feel that it's a good place to raise children. And though Edmonton is small, not as big as centers like Toronto, places like that, I think the community has done so well. We have the Arabic English bilingual program. It's nothing is similar to it across Canada. It's the first of its kind. The other thing, the Islamic Academy school, that it's the building, like it's one of the attractions in Edmonton that tourists go by to look at the building. The other thing, we have an Islamic chair at the University of Alberta, and this is again is unique that this happened here in Edmonton. And with the Canadian Council of Muslim Women, we've done also lots of work, and the last two projects were really very useful to the community here. The first one was human rights for Muslim women, and that project we produced a book, a video, and we realized that the Quran gave women so many rights that are recognized by United Nations. Also, right now, we are finishing a project called Making a Change, and the project is to encourage Muslim young women to be leaders in their community, leaders in out of their community, in the Canadian community at large, to be educated, to participate in the political scene, in the social scene, education. We like them to be part of that Canadian society. We have to be obvious. We can't be sitting at home doing a wonderful work at home and no one knows about it. We have to get out there and be obvious and talk to people about our religion, ourselves. We are proud to be Canadians, but doesn't make us less proud of being Muslims. And we have to teach our children to be proud of what they are. And we have to encourage them to be part of that community.
Sister Soraya, thank you so much for your time. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you so much, Adnan, for coming to Edmonton and doing all that wonderful work.
My pleasure.